Welcome one and all to the second example on drawing trig graphs level 1. To find out more details on these types of examples, go check out the previous video, which is drawing trig graphs level 1, example 1. And that one was also an example on sine. This one is going to primarily focus on cosine. So here we go. First thing we need to establish is setting up our labels for the x and y axes, or axes. Don't know what the plural word is. But we need to set up an appropriate scale. So in order to do that, we need to find out what is the amplitude, midline, and the frequency / period. So first thing is, you don't have a number in front of the cosine, which just means automatically this is 1. So our A is equal to 1. Our frequency is the coefficient of the x, so therefore our capital B is equal to 8. As for the midline, again, we don't have anything added or subtracted with it at the end, so we can safely assume that the midline is equal to 0. The most important thing is we need to establish what our period is, and our formula for the period is 2 pi divided by capital B. And we just found out what B is, so therefore we can say that it is 2 pi divided by 8. This one can be simplified because 2 over 8 is reducible to 1 over 4, so this is going to be pi over 4. Or another way of saying is they're both divisible by 2, the top and bottom. And the last thing is we need to establish that this is a cosine. So because this is a cosine, we're going to when we draw this graph, it'll look something like this, where you start high, then you mid, go low, mid, then high again. So it makes that cycle right there. So now that we have all the important pieces, we can go ahead and type this into our delta math example. So what we're going to do is we're going to put our x-axis label. We established that the period was pi over 4, so I'm going to put pi divided by 4. As for my y-axis, it's usually safe to go ahead and just label it as 1, so that you can easily just tell that each line is a difference of 1. If you are capable of changing the differences to 2 or 4, 3 or 4, that is totally up to you. It is not specifically bound to a number. None of these are, except for probably the x-axis. That one you definitely want to label based on your period. So we click done. They label it for us, so all our differences of the y-axis is 1, and then we're given the critical point of pi over 4. I'm going to put this on, this time I'm going to put it, let's say, I'm going to go every 2 lines. So 1 critical point there, 2 is this 2, 4, 6. Okay, so there we go. And now we start at the maximum of 1. So because my midline is 0 and the max is 1, I'm going to start high. Then I'm going to go mid 2 over here. Then I go 2 over low here. I go mid 2 over here. And I go high 2 over here. Again, I don't have to go 2 over. I can move this blue dot wherever I want it to be, as long as it is an even distribution of the critical points. You have 5 critical key points, and as long as you have the correct shape, because this is cosine, it makes this shape right here. See how it doesn't even match, like obviously where mine is, but the shape of it is what's really important, and you have the critical key points in the correct spots. So high, mid, low, mid, high. Then I go ahead and submit my answer, and I check to see, is this correct? And it is. So as you can clearly see, they do the same thing: amplitude, frequency, midline, find the period. They've gone ahead and just found the max and min, but again, you should be able to find that. And then the most important part is knowing that this is the cosine graph, which starts at the maximum. Okay. And when you plot the period, divide it into 4 equal intervals. That's the most important part. Again, I did it in, hey, they actually did it similar to me. Oh no, they went 3 over each, for for every key critical point. I went 2 over every time. But again, the point is, as long as it's evenly distributed and you have the correct shape of the graph, again, for cosine, it's high, mid, low, mid, high. And you know where the maximum is based on the amplitude and the midline. So, there you go. There's your example on drawing cosine.